IVM.
The Indian banking system is very robust as of now. The NPA percentage has come down drastically, and there is a huge demand for loans now, what we see in the last 2-3 years, especially post COVID. And especially retail loan segment is growing in leaps and bounds. So due to this, the hunger for deposits of all the banks have grown. Nobody has lost a single paise since independence in fixed deposits in a scheduled commercial bank. Fixed deposits
Wow.
or savings account, current account, whatever. Ever.
Post-independence.
Post-independence.
There might be delay, but you've not lost.
Indian banking system is supposed to be and is called one of the most robust systems in the world. So now most of the Janta uses mobile banking. And even for credit cards, there are apps. So my suggestion to them is, say I have a credit card, maybe 10 lakhs limit. But I know I'll use maybe 30, 40,000 or 50,000 in a single transaction. So using the app, I reduce the limit up to 50,000 only.
Card controls.
Card control. Card users control.
Obviously,
And then again, I keep the international uses blocked always.
Always blocked.
The idea is whenever I'll travel, I'll open it.
Yeah.
And if I want to do a transaction, say if I want to pay fees of my son or my daughter somewhere, then I'll open it, the link at that point of time, use the card and again close it.
Yeah.
So these simple things can help a lot.
Folks, welcome to Paisa Vaisa. I'm your host Anupam Gupta, B50 on Twitter. And on today's episode, after a long time, really long time, we're talking about banking, the most basic financial product that you can think of. My guest, Deepak Gaddhyan, head branch and business banking at RBL Bank. We're going to talk about how to get more, much more, out of your savings bank account. Deepak, welcome to Paisa Vaisa. This is the first time we have RBL Bank with us. Thank you so much for coming on our show and doing this for our listeners.
Thanks Anupam. Thanks for inviting me, and I'm looking forward to this show.
Yeah. Let's start with RBL Bank. It's not something that people have heard of. I remember it, of course, a very long time ago as Ratnakar Bank, which has a very long history. So let's start from there. What is RBL Bank?
See, RBL Bank is in fact 8 years old institutions. Very few people know about it. The new life of RBL Bank started in 2010 after our ex-MD, Mr. Vishwa Rahuja, decided to join the bank and turn it around. In fact, you will be surprised that prior to that, Janta knew as it was a cooperative bank.
Yeah.
But it has been a scheduled commercial bank since its beginning. And we celebrated 80 years in last year in August. And today it's one of the prominent private sector banks.
Yeah.
And we are coming up in a big way.
Good to know that.
Yeah.
So, let's start with a basic savings bank account. It's something that we've not spoken much about on our show. We don't have too many guests from the banking sector, which is why when we have one such as yourself, it's very interesting because this is the starting point of all our it's probably the first financial product that all of us own. Some of us, our parents open it for us. For some of us, the place where we work, it's the starting point of our journey. So what's been happening there in the savings bank account in general, especially after whatever we've seen after the lockdown? Because this product has evolved a lot over the last, I think, at least 20-30 years when internet banking came in. So let's, start from there.
See, first of all, savings bank account is like a commodity, and it's like food or anything we require in our day-to-day life. Savings account is also a must. Without that, no individual can transact. So it's buying, selling, XYZ investments. Savings account is the medium through which the money gets transferred. This product, though it's a commodity, it has evolved quite a lot over a period of time. Now, every banks try to offer distinct features attached to its savings account. So earlier it was only a mundane account. Now many banks offer maybe insurance attached to it. Depending upon the balances, free locker. Then again, maybe debit card with special features and all. So it has evolved. Now, one thing which again has become very, very important for any customer is earlier the savings interest rate was regulated by RBI. But almost, I think in 2011, they deregulated it. Earlier, if I remember correctly, it was 4% per annum, irrespective of the bank. Today, any bank is free to offer any interest rate on its savings account. The only regulation is that whatever it's offered to one customer, it should be same for all the customers. They can't differentiate between different customers. So up to a threshold, the rate has to be same for everyone.
Very interesting.
So depending upon the need and the way the bank wants to grow or position this product, many banks have been offering different rates. And now well-established banks, they offer maybe 3.5%, and some banks, especially small and medium private sector banks and small finance banks, they offer as high as 7.5%.
Yeah, so I actually want to get into that. That's my next question, right?
Yeah.
Because this whole area is called CASA. For listeners who don't know, maybe you can explain what exactly is CASA, because it's a massive. I mean, it's other than wholesale funding. Of course, it's one of the biggest sources of funds for the bank. So if you can just explain to us, what exactly is CASA? Why is it important, and what's been happening there for the banks?
See, CASA is a short term for current account and savings account. So if you see the liability part of the balance sheet, the banks have 3-4 constructs, you can say.
Yeah.
One is their own capital, and the second is whatever borrowing through bonds and all. Third will be from the customers, from the public. They borrow by way of fixed deposits or by way of balances in current account and savings account. So current accounts and savings account balance together is known as CASA balance. So this is very, very simple.
Yeah.
Now, again, RBI or even the bank's management tracks it. The CASA ratio is hugely tracked because it shows, first of all, it somehow mirrors the cost of funds of a bank.
Sure.
Higher the CASA ratio, it is assumed that the lower is the cost of funds of the bank, and the bank is more stable. The bank will definitely have more customers if the CASA ratio is higher, and this ratio somehow signifies the health of a bank.
Yeah. What's been happening there in that? I mean, given where interest rates are right now, are banks drawing more deposits from the customers by increasing savings bank rates, FD rates, because those are the only way to increase your CASA, and I like the part where you said that a savings bank account is like a commodity.
Yeah.
If it is a commodity, then what separates an RBL bank from somebody else or any other bank from RBL bank? How do banks compete for this low cost?
So let me answer your question in parts. First of all, you see the overall scenario. The Indian banking system is very robust as of now. The NPA percentage has come down drastically, and there is a huge demand for loans now, what we see in the last 2-3 years, especially post-COVID. And especially retail loan segment is growing in leaps and bounds. So due to this, the hunger for deposits of all the banks have grown. And the deposit rates have moved by almost 1.5-2% in the last 1.5 to 2 years.
Wow.
And the general public couldn't have it better.
Yeah, 1.5-2% as compared to the repo rate, which was hiked by some.
No, repo rate also moved from 4 to 6%.
So 200 bips out there.
It somehow mirrors that.
Yeah.
Somehow mirrors that.
Yeah.
Say, for example, today our peak rate for a normal deposit is 8%, and for a senior citizen it's 8.5%. And we also have a special category. We are among very few banks who have a special category called super senior citizens.
Very interesting.
Customers who are more than 80 years old. So we pay 25 basis points more to them.
So how much does that come to?
That comes to 8.75.
So 8.75 for a senior citizen who's
No, 8.5 is for a senior citizen,
right,
and 8.75 is for a super senior citizen.
And I'm assuming that's a 1-year tenure?
This is for 18 months and above. 18 to 24 months.
18 to 24 months, 8.75 if you're 80 years plus.
80 years plus.
Not bad.
And on top of it, again, this reflects a tight liquidity scenario. We have introduced another product called age deposits. So here, anybody can keep a deposit which as per regulation has to be more than 1 crore.
Okay.
It is more focused towards HNIs.
Yeah.
And the deposits cannot be broken.
Oh, there's some kind of lock-in.
Lock-in.
Nice.
So there we offer 20 basis points more.
But you've got to be locked in.
Locked in for the tenor. It has to be 1 year or more. Amount should be more than 1 crore. And you get 20 basis points more.
Nice. And how has been the response to all of these products?
We introduced this product in June, and believe me, it has been a roaring success for us.
Nice.
And it also helps for every bank, and including our bank, it also helps us in managing our asset liability position also.
Yeah. I want you to take care of one, I won't say myth, but concern that a lot of people have on the high rates and the fixed deposits offered by scheduled commercial banks. Quote unquote, how safe are they? What is the kind of insurance? I believe it's 5 lakhs, but if you can help us out there, if someone who's listening to this episode actually wants to open and he's just a little bit cautious because, although in my opinion, and as you said, the banking sector is also pretty robust. I haven't heard of any bank, at least for the last few years, have an issue. How safe are these fixed deposits?
So let me correct you. Nobody has lost a single paise since independence in fixed deposits in a scheduled commercial bank. Fixed deposits or savings account, current account, whatever. Ever.
Post-independence?
Post-independence.
There might be delay, but you've not lost.
There has been 1 or 2 cases. I don't want to name them.
But even 1-2 cases in 75 years is...
No. There was a moratorium for a few days.
Wow.
For 3 weeks or 2 weeks. But everybody got each and every paise back. So, and the entire credit goes to our regulator. Indian banking system is supposed to be and is called one of the most robust systems in the world.
Very interesting.
And touch wood. My sort of the way, what I would like to convey to the entire Janta who is listening to us, that if the money is with any scheduled commercial bank, it's 100% safe. Though there is a insurance for up to 5 lakhs. So that apart, but it's safe.
Very interesting.
It's very well regulated.
What exactly is a scheduled commercial bank?
See, there are many types of bank. There are cooperative banks. Scheduled commercial banks there is a particular schedule of RBI where the bank has to be named. I think it's Schedule 2 of RBI Act.
So it has to comply with a whole list of conditions and liquidity ratios and stuff like that. I mean, they're relatively strong. Okay.
And again, I would like to add, most of the banks are rated.
Okay.
So, for example, RBL is rated AA.
Okay.
And bigger banks like SBI, ICICI, they are rated AAA. So that again sort of speaks about the strength of a bank.
Yeah. Right. So before I go into the zero balance account discussion, I just noticed that you also look at branch and business banking. Business banking is a little bit technical. What's happening in branches there? I mean, because, with the whole digital thing going on and in internet, branch banking has also changed. But it's still crowded. Like whenever I go to the bank account, the bank where I have an account at the branch, say, if I go on a Monday morning, when the weekend and all, it's still crowded. So what are the transactions still being done at branches that make it so, still so packed?
So a very interesting question, Anupam. Before the start of, or just at the start of digital era, most of the bankers and people thought that branches will be a thing of the past. But they were proved wrong. Now, all the banks have realized that if they want to grow, they have to set up branches. And all are in branch opening spree.
Wow. I didn't realize that.
Yeah. So, unless people open a branch in an area, it's very difficult to attract customers of that catchment area. So, it's essential, first of all. Means you can offer digital products or can do digital banking with customers, provided they can see your branch physically.
That's important.
Yeah, that's very important.
Yeah. So if I were to take 2 numbers, let's say I remember that during the lockdown, because of the lockdown, you could not actually go to a physical branch and open a bank account. The RBI allowed video, e-KYC and stuff like that. And now here we are in the year 2024. If I were to just look at customer acquisition via that digital channel, where I just do everything online, assuming I've got e-KYC in place, versus the customers coming in by opening a new branch, where are we in the digital versus physical space?
See, let me go back a bit. Just at the onset of COVID, customers who were used to traditional way of banking, they had a tough time. Due to fear of COVID, they were also fearing stepping into a physical branch. But somehow COVID itself provided the solution. It pushed these customers towards digital banking, and somehow they started doing it and they learnt about it. It's so convenient, and now they have adopted it.
Okay.
So even the less tech savvy customers which never thought that they will do digital banking or internet banking or mobile banking. But when they started using it, they realized, again, convenience, benefit and all, and they are using it.
Yeah.
And the entire banking has moved a lot towards the digital era now. So, for example, earlier, for opening an account,
Yeah.
you had to go physically to a branch. Now, that is a thing of the past. You can open an account through a digital link or also on tab. The bank RM can come to your home and can open your account digitally in front of you at your residence.
Oh, okay. Very interesting.
So the entire, there has been a systematic shift, if you ask me.
Yeah.
The entire scenario has changed.
Very interesting.
And again, just to let me add, institutions like NPCI, UIDAI, the
Aadhaar.
manager of Aadhaar,
Yeah.
now they have also realized, and they have also, in fact, added to the entire banking architecture and the entire, you can say, digital robustness, which along with banks' own digital prowess, this has again made the entire experience very seamless.
Sure. Okay. Very interesting.
Yeah.
Now let's move to the, what I think the main topic of this episode, which is a zero balance account. I want you to explain this to our listeners at a generic level. What exactly is a zero balance account? And then we'll get into it from both sides of the equation, from the customer side and from the bank side. You just explain to us, what is a zero balance account? How is it different from a regular savings account?
Say, first of all, in a regular savings account, every bank mandates that a particular amount of average balance, normally it's a quarterly average balance, should be there in the account so that there are no charges. On the other hand, zero balance account means that even if the average quarterly balance is zero, there will be no charges.
Sure.
Okay. Now, you have to understand, for any account, even the bank incurs some cost. Cost for opening an account, even cost for managing an account. There is always a system and people backing that account. Now, again, if a person is opening an account, obviously he is opening that account to transact in that account. So, for all practical reasons, the account can never be zero balance account. Because without money in the account, you can't transact.
And especially with UPI.
Correct. Whether UPI, internet banking, first of all, money has to flow into the account, then only it can go out of the account.
Correct. So whether it's 10 rupees or 10 lakh rupees or 10,000?
It has to be there.
Yeah.
So it's rare unless the customer is not using it and after opening the account has become dormant, somehow he has shifted his transaction to some other bank, the account will normally be not a zero account. Again, this zero balance account is a very new concept. Even today, if I say 97-98% of the Janta opens funded account.
Okay.
Zero balance account has become popular with Gen Z, the new youth.
Listeners of our podcast, hopefully.
Who do not want any hassles in their life.
Okay.
मतलब उनका है कि कौन ये balances देखेगा, calculate करेगा, and why I should pay any charges.
The last thing they want is to see
correct.
some charge that's come on the bank.
Means they always want to focus their energy on something more important in their life. For them, banking is mundane and why they should be bothered about it.
Okay, yeah.
Correct. So, couple of banks, most of the banks have come with this zero balance account. Even we have come with an account called Go account.
Yeah.
So, here it's a sort of subscription account. A customer can pay upfront. We charge 1,999 rupees plus GST, and then he can maintain the account the way he want to. There will be no charges for zero balances. Plus, we offer many other products also, many other features also. For example, he gets a high-end debit card where also we give 1,500 rupees worth of voucher free. Then he gets a cyber insurance of 1 lakh free. Then he gets a accidental insurance of 1 crore. Then again, he can do any number of transfers and all, free cash deposits, all those things allowed. Even after 1 year, the renewal fee is reduced. It's only 599 rupees plus GST. And again, if he does minimum of 1 lakh of transactions through his debit card, even that is waived off.
Okay.
So, like our product, which we call Go account, other banks have also introduced similar product. This is to cater to this new generation customers who believe in digital world and who wants to do things at their own sort of thought process. Yeah.
Okay. Is it a good solution for customers? I'm asking this because,
In my opinion, this is one of the products which caters to the mindset of certain customers.
Okay.
It is impossible for anyone to keep zero balances, I already said. And if it's the transacting account of a customer, then
It can't be.
it's as good as a normal account.
Yeah.
And see, for a normal account, the demand is not very high. There are variants of normal savings account with average 5,000 rupees balance, average 10,000 rupees balance, which can suffice the needs of most of the customers.
Yeah.
So it depends upon the customer, but even funded account is not that it will pinch the pockets of the customers.
Correct.
Yeah.
Is there an RBI rule that says that you can one person, like if I want, I can only open one zero balance account, or is it?
No, it's not like that.
Okay.
See, a customer normally a customer opens one account in one bank. No point having multiple accounts in the same bank. Similarly, in multiple banks, they can open multiple bank accounts and all can be zero balance account. There is one only technical rule by RBI that when a customer does non-face-to-face KYC through OTP mechanism, then it should be done with only one bank.
Okay.
And the bank should take an undertaking from the customer that such account the person has only opened with one particular bank.
Okay. And
Which is a separate rule. It has nothing to do with zero balance account.
Oh, okay. Okay. Sorry for the confusion.
Yeah.
What's happening on interest rates? On savings bank account, how important are they? Because we spoke about FD rates and all, but even on savings bank account now, a lot of banks run these huge ad campaigns advertising their savings bank account, and given where we are in the interest rate cycle, there could be as high as 7%. I mean, if I'm getting 7% on a savings bank account, which has 24/7 liquidity, it's pretty attractive. But are customers that sensitive? How does this dynamic work? I mean, I can understand rate of return for something like a mutual fund or a debt fund or stock market, but savings bank account, how does it work?
This has become a very interesting field now,
Okay.
especially in the last 3-4 years. Now, most of the banks, they want to fortify their liability book. And CASA, both current account and savings account, in one of are products through which they garner liabilities. Especially small and medium-sized private sector banks and small finance banks, they offer high rates on savings account compared to well-established bank like ICICI, HDFC, Axis and SBI.
It's a big difference. Yeah.
Big difference.
Yeah.
Now, they may be offering 3.5. SBI offers around 2.5. They have some formula and all. So, as I was telling, small and medium-sized private sector banks plus small finance bank, they offer interest rates on savings banks as high as 7.5%, 7 to 7.5%. The idea is here that once the customer comes in, they will get enough opportunity to cross-sell. It can be a car loan, it can be a home loan, it can be a credit card, it can be anything else, personal loan or what. So they offer high rates on savings account to garner more customers.
Okay.
On the other side, well-established bank, they already have huge customer base. So they don't want to offer higher rates. And if they start offering, it will be a huge cost for them. There again, cost of borrowing will sort of move quite up.
Very interesting.
So, and customers didn't have better than this. Now, the savings bank rate of such banks is typically higher than fixed deposit rates of many established banks.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is what I found really interesting.
Correct. So, this is win-win for all the customers.
Yeah. And it's here to stay, I guess, at least until...
This will here to stay. Because see, this is a sort of life cycle for a bank.
Deepak, let's just recap the Go zero balance account that you spoke about. This was one, I think it was launched last year. If you can just go by the features once again and how exactly it works. You said that this is a subscription product.
It is a subscription-based account targeted towards the people who are more digitally savvy. This can be opened digitally. One need not come to the branch for it. So one can pay just 1,999 rupees plus GST and the account is opened. Then they can use the account as a normal account. They can do any number of transactions. They may or may not keep any balance there. So normally though they pay 1,999 rupees, the benefits which we offer is almost about 5 times than the amount paid by them.
Okay.
Which includes free cyber insurance of 1 lakh, as I told you, 1 crore of accidental cover, then again about 3 to 4 lakhs of cash deposits, depending upon the branch and this. So,
and some vouchers also thrown in.
And then they also get a premier debit card. With 1,500 rupees of voucher thrown in with that. So they recover most of the, rather much more than what they pay.
Yeah.
Also, we give them 1 free CIBIL report, which otherwise they have to pay for.
Yeah. So you also mentioned that the charges are annual.
Correct.
But in the second day,
we reduce the charges. The renewal fee is only 599 plus GST, which can also be waived off if they do 1 lakh rupees of transaction through the debit card.
Okay.
So it's a win-win for all. And this is more targeted towards the Gen Z who do not want any hassle in their life. They just want to open an account and use that for whatever bank.
As long as you're transparent about the charges, because this does come at a cost. Although it's a one-time upfront cost. If I compare this to a regular savings bank account at RBL, okay, what are the charges that are incurred out there?
No, see, there is no charge. We only ask them to manage a minimum balance.
So if you don't maintain that balance,
then
you have and otherwise there is no difference between the two of them.
No. Then once a Go account is opened, after paying the subscription fee, it is equal to a normal account. In fact, there are some advantages with the Go account that they get all this free voucher, then free cyber insurance, free accidental insurance and all, which may not be there in the normal account.
Yeah, so that's what I wanted to come to. But for someone who wants to choose between the two, what's your advice to them? Because for the Go account, you said very clearly that this is for Gen Z who don't want to even think. They can, operate 365 days a year without even thinking, "Arey, mera bank account balance zero ho gaya, ya 5 rupees ho gaya, 10 rupees ho gaya," and there's no rule to that. Okay, so versus a savings bank account customer for whom, let's say that this is at least a primary account or at least a secondary account, which is linked to a lot of things. Could be linked to UPI, could be linked to, Demat, where the dividends come in and stuff like that, salary. So if one were to choose between the two, what's your advice? Which is good for which customer?
It will be difficult to give an advice. It will depend upon the requirement of the particular customer.
Okay.
But again, I will try to answer your question indirectly. Almost 97-98% of the public opens a normal funded account.
Wow.
If it is a transacting account, then maintaining 5,000, 10,000 for most of the people will not be a problem.
Yeah.
So I would advise them that go for the regular account.
Yeah.
And also, if it is a regular account, anyway they are getting high interest rates.
Especially so on zero balance account, I mean on the Go,
they will get the same interest
rate. Okay.
Yeah. So anyway, when you are maintaining a savings account and you are keeping balances there, so why to pay upfront subscription fee, open a normal account?
Yeah.
My advice will be slightly different on a different context here. Earlier, many people used to keep many accounts in different banks.
Oh, that's a pain. I don't know why people do that. I just don't understand that.
So now my advice is just maintain 2-3. Ideally, one should open only one account so they can track the balances and they can get higher interest rates. Say, for example, in our bank also, the interest rate on savings account is slab wise. Say up to 1 lakh we pay 4.25. 1 lakh to 10 lakh we pay 5.5. 10 lakhs to 25 lakhs we pay 6.5. And then above 25 lakhs to 2 crore we pay 7.5.
Wow.
So if you keep all your balances in one account, you move to the higher slab. Plus it's so easier.
Yeah.
Say that you have to just keep watch on only one account and you can just put all your direct debits, everything attached to that account.
Yeah.
Again, one more thing. Nowadays, while filing ITR return, I can say, since I am a chartered accountant also, you have to give details of all your accounts. So why to fill gives account, maintain 6-7 accounts and give all the details and all. So it's a lot of hassle according to me.
And bank account is something that you have to declare. It doesn't get captured in that traces or whatever, Form 26
so
or
it
thing.
Gets captured if you get savings bank interest on it.
Okay.
That is captured. Now you can't get away with it. Can't get away with it.
So folks, there are people who chase interest rates for savings bank account. I don't know what the logic is, but I subscribe to Deepak's view, and I think you should also. I mean, if I were to ask you that someone is opening a savings bank account for the very first time,
okay,
what should he look at?
See, first of all, he should look at the service of the bank. Number one. Where, again, let me correct myself, most of the banks offer decent service. Again, it is more centered around the concerned relationship manager. This I am telling from my experience
I know.
as a consumer, not as a banker.
Not okay.
The same bank, the same branch, which would be very good for you initially, maybe once the concerned relationship manager moves out, you may feel there are cases there, but it is common with most of the banks. And it is a bit of aberration, not a common thing. Normally, most of the banks give the same sort of service. Secondly, it should be the interest rate. And then I think almost all the banks offer the same services.
I'm just, there's one thing that I always think about is what is the kind of balance I should maintain in my savings bank account. I usually, for me personally, obviously this is not advice to anybody. I don't, I like to keep it higher, reasonably higher than the minimum account, so that I know mentally I have peace of mind ki, whatever happens, at least that much will be there. But, I don't know how people think of it nowadays, but do you have an opinion on this? Ideally, for people who have savings bank account, what should they keep in mind? Ki bhai, itna to hona chahiye.
Depending upon the person's whatever
income, savings or whatever,
expenditure and his status, financial status, it will vary.
Yeah.
It can be a couple of thousand, it can be a couple of lakhs.
Yeah.
Obviously, for an HNI, it will be a couple of lakhs.
Yeah.
Now, again, I'll give you a different twist here. See, many people, they have savings account and they also have FDs in the bank. Say, let me take the example of RBL Bank.
Okay.
If I have a savings account and I have kept 10 lakhs there and I have kept another 50 lakhs in FD, I might as well keep the same amount in savings account only.
Oh, okay.
Because it will move me to the next slab of 25 lakhs and more. So on the entire balance, I'll get that 7.5%.
Yeah.
So one has to do calculation on an Excel sheet, otherwise it may be difficult. But in all probability, in totality, the person will make more interest than otherwise. I hope I have been able to explain it.
No, you have. It's just that it makes a whole lot of sense to keep that entire thing in a savings bank account, which is liquid, which moves you to the next slab, so you get a high interest rate.
Correct. And again, one very interesting thing. There is no TDS on interest on savings account, unlike FD.
Are you seriously?
200% sure.
I always used to think it's not.
No. Even if you earn maybe 1 crore as interest, there is no TDS.
Oh, very interesting.
So this is another indirect benefit.
Yeah.
So you can do your tax planning properly.
Yeah. Okay. Last question here, Deepak. Going forward, in savings, something as commodity and something as basic as savings bank account, how do you see what lies ahead? What are the trends coming in? How this product will evolve, etc., etc.
See, banking industry in India is robust as well as very competitive. And the way India is moving ahead, I see that loan growth will move in tandem with our GDP growth. Normally it's said that the banking sector grows at around 2.5 times of the GDP growth. So always I feel for the coming maybe 5, 7, 10 years, there will be a lot of pressure on the banks as well as liability is concerned. And banks will look for ways and means to attract more customers and to get more liabilities towards their fold. So there will be a lot of innovation. They will launch a lot of products. Though, according to me, basically 60, 70, 80% of the product will be same. And there will be features attached to them depending upon the needs of different segments. So it will be like differentiating a product and attracting a particular segment to garner liabilities from them.
Nice. Very interesting. So go deeper and
correct.
Targeted at segments.
So let me give you another example.
Sure.
The capital market in India is booming like anything.
It is.
The Sensex, which was I think 52,000 a year ago, now it's about
72,
whatever, 52, 57,000 to 72.
Yeah.
Now we see IPOs every week practically. Now we have a system called ASBA.
Yeah.
Earlier you had to fill up a physical form, submit to the bank, and the amount was deducted from your account and then it came as a refund subsequently.
So the money was gone, it came back.
Initially it came through check, all the hassles, you have to deposit the check and all. Then it got automatically credited back to your account depending upon the allocation and all. Now it just gets blocked.
Yeah.
Say if I apply in an IPO of say 10 lakhs rupees, so 10 lakhs rupees get blocked from my account for now the period is 4 to 5 days.
Even lesser,
No, it will be much lesser going forward, but I think now it's 4 days or 5 days if there are no weekends. And the amounts get blocked. And once the IPO is over, depending upon the allotment, it gets unblocked. But during that period, you earn the interest on the balance.
Yes, of course. Yeah.
Correct?
Yeah.
So, many people, many customers look for higher rates only for this purpose.
Oh, because they can deploy larger amounts.
Correct.
Through the savings account for this.
And many investors, many HNIs, they apply large amounts.
Yeah, and they also go for margin funding and stuff like that. Yeah.
Margin funding also, there has been a new regulation. I think it can be done up to 1 crore or something.
Okay.
Though I'm not very well versed there.
Sure.
But for that period, if they choose a bank which offers higher interest rate on savings account,
it works in their favor.
In fact, they don't lose out.
Yeah.
But the money is sleeping, but still earning 7.5%.
Very interesting.
And if they get an allotment, it's a bonus.
Obviously. Yeah.
Assuming that the issue will list at a premium.
So you're not losing out on that at all. You're earning interest, and therefore the higher slab of interest, the better it is for you.
Correct.
Okay. I have to ask this question because it's important for everyone, our listeners, non-listeners, whatever. Safety and security on UPI. Because last few days and for the last couple of years also, a lot of people are the scams are getting sophisticated.
Correct.
The series that come on Netflix and all is a different thing, but it's like the hackers and the cyber criminals are already thinking 2 steps ahead of whatever we think of. Okay, so can you tell our listeners, some just general basic tips that can help us be more protected, more secure against this list which तो मतलब क्या scam हो रहे हैं आजकल, even I'm scared
to 2-3 things. First of all, let me go a little back. Though with advance of technology and all, the entire banking has moved more towards the digital architecture. But one of the result of this was increase in scams also, in frauds also.
Yeah.
Now, during the traditional banking era, the frauds and scams were much less than what it is today. So now the public have to be more careful. And I can give a couple of tips here. First of all, they should not click on any link, unknown link. They have to be very, very watchful and careful. Second, they should not share their OTP with anyone. In fact, now there are advanced, I am told, AI systems which can mimic your own family's voice also.
Wow.
Now, I can give you a real life example. When my son uses my credit card, he has told, and he calls me to share the OTP with him.
Correct, yeah.
He tells him, Papa, disconnect and call me again.
Wow.
You see what he is thinking.
Oh.
Because he is assuming that somebody may mimic his voice and get the OTP from me.
Obviously, yeah.
So he wants me again and again.
Very interesting. That's actually a nice tip. So if you are sharing credit cards, then you should call the guy for the
always
OTP.
Disconnect and call back.
Disconnect and call back.
Achha, recently I'll tell you, in my bank also it happened that I got an email which mimicked the email ID of one of my senior management.
Wow.
Deepak, can you do X for me? Can you buy Amazon voucher worth 2,000 rupees and mail me?
Okay.
One has to be very, very careful. That the name may say that Anupam Gupta mail from, but the mail ID is very different.
So be careful of the mail ID also.
Be careful of the mail ID.
Yeah.
So no clicking on any unknown link, not sharing OTP with anyone. And then one has to be very agile and watchful.
Yeah.
That if they are alert, a person is alert, they can make out what the other side wants.
Yeah.
And some other tips also. Now most of the Janta uses mobile banking. And even for credit cards, there are apps. So my suggestion to them is, say I have a credit card, maybe 10 lakhs limit. But I know I'll use maybe 30, 40,000 or 50,000 in a single transaction. So using the app, I reduce the limit up to 50,000 only.
Card controls.
Card control. Card users control.
Obviously, yeah.
And then again, I keep the international uses blocked always.
Always blocked. Yeah.
The idea is whenever I'll travel, I'll open it.
Yeah.
And if I want to do a transaction, say if I want to pay fees of my son or my daughter somewhere, then I'll open it, the link at that point of time, use the card and again close it.
Yeah.
So these simple things can help a lot.
Yeah. So folks, card controls is something that your banking app will have. Please do.
And this is relevant also for debit cards.
Yeah, no, that's what I was just going to say that it's for debit card and
as
for
well
credit
as
card.
cards.
Every time that a new debit card comes in, all banks now prominently put on the literature that comes with the card that please go into your app or in net banking or
Correct.
in IVRA, so whatever, and set the card controls out there.
And one more thing, Anupam, I would like to say here, especially for international transactions in US, you don't get OTP.
Okay. For those of us who are traveling to the US, please keep track of that. Yeah.
And the money is deducted.
Okay.
So it's very important to switch off the international transaction option, both in the debit card and credit card.
Yeah.
That way you can ensure that, though I can't say that fraud will never happen, but you can minimize the chances of the frauds.
Yeah. And I personally feel that whenever there is even 1% or 5% suspicion of an incoming SMS or an incoming email, I just say call your bank. Just call your bank and say that I got this from what is supposedly saying XYZ bank. Did you send this? And let the bank sort it out, and rather than take any action immediately, just wait. Which I don't know if it's a Gen Z thing. People like us, of course, our natural mode is suspicious.
Correct.
But यहाँ सब लोग को जल्दी होता है ना, tick करके तो I don't know what happens.
One more suggestion, Anupam here. Say we have even credit cards and debit cards with very high limits.
Yeah.
And most of the time we don't require that limit.
Yeah.
So as a banker, my suggestion is that avail the limit or ensure that the card has a limit up to the user's pattern. Now you shouldn't have a 10 lakh limit knowing fully well that you'll use only half 50,000 or 1 lakh in a month.
10 lakh is vanity, na? I mean, you just feel that you've got that thing in your mind.
My advice, though, it depends upon person to person.
How 10 lakh आप use कहाँ करने वाले हो? I think for any given, for such a high limit that I don't think
it depends. If a person is HNI, he may be traveling and all.
For the average customer, I'm saying that.
So depending upon one's personal uses, one can take up.
Yeah. I'm just saying that, when it comes to credit limits, the actual amount that you're going to use will always be a fraction of that. So even if you have a high limit, it just when you're given the facility of card controls, you should use that.
And again, one more thing here, your passwords and all should not be simple ones.
Like password.
Like password or
ABCD 1, 2, 3, 4.
India 1, 2, 3, 4 or whatever
India
it
1, 2,
is.
3, 4 also.
Whatever it is.
India at 1947.
One has to ensure that it's a bit complicated.
Yeah. And it's actually not that difficult to put a complicated password.
Correct.
I believe longer passwords are usually a little bit more tougher.
Longer with various things. There should be a number, there should be a word, there can be a symbol or something, whatever. Mix of everything, caps and whatever, lowercase, everything.
Yeah. So folks, it's your hard-earned money. Please be careful with it. The tips that Deepak gave will be very useful for you. So Deepak, we are done. Our last and final standard question is any content recommendations for our listeners, any book that you're reading or anything that you're watching, or anything that you're doing?
I'm a slow leader, let me admit. I prefer fiction.
Sure.
And 2 books which I still love and which I read in the past are the Siva trilogy by Amish.
Amish Tripathi, of course.
Yes, and Da Vinci Code by Dan Brown.
Dan Brown, wow.
These 2 are my favorite books.
Nice. And I like the kind of similarity out there because it's like mythology and, a lot of symbolism and stuff like that. So the Shiva trilogy by Amish. And the Da Vinci Code by, of course, Dan.
Both. I love them and those are a permanent part of my collection.
I love fiction recommendations. I just really like them because you don't get too many of them on our show. So folks, that is a wrap on this episode of Paisa Vaisa. My guest, Deepak Gaddhyan, Head Branch and Business Banking at RBL Bank. Deepak, thank you so much for doing this for our listeners, especially the cyber tip part, the security part, the safety part. Folks, please listen to that in detail. Thank you so much, Deepak.
Thanks a lot, Anupam. It was a pleasure interacting with you in this.
IVM